Good day to all of you students. Today we will discuss about errors in the measurement because physics is the science of measurement, and whenever we take measurements, children, there are always errors. Please remember, no measurement is accurate in this world. Error will be always there whenever we take measurements because of various reasons which we will discuss now. There is a difference between mistake and error. See, mistake can be rectified. Supposing you make some mistake while doing a sum and the teacher tells you that you have made a mistake over here. So next time you will not make that mistake, and therefore you have completely eliminated the mistake from the sum. So mistake can be completely eliminated, but error can never be eliminated. It can be only reduced by using various techniques. This is the main difference between a mistake and error. So error is something which will always stay with a measurement. It can be reduced, but it can never be made zero. It can never be eliminated because of its inherent nature. Inherent means which comes in heredity. So error follows measurement in heredity. Whenever there will be measurement, there will be always error accompanying it, whether in small quantity or in more quantity, depending upon how you are taking the measurement, by which method you are taking the measurement, with which instrument you are taking the measurement, under what situations you are taking the measurement. So first let us talk about precision and accuracy. See children, accuracy will mean how close you are to the true value of any observation, of any measurement. Now you would tell me, sir, just now you said there is always an error associated with the measurement. So how can we know the true value of measurement? So children, in this case what we do, if we want to measure any quantity, we take its several readings and take its average, and we consider that average value to be the true value of the measurement. So this way we understand what is true value of measurement. Even though it is not true, but we accept it to be true by taking large number of readings of a measurement of a length of a room or temperature or whatever, and then take its average value. Whatever is the average value, that is considered to be the true value. So if a measurement is close to the true value, it is more accurate, and if it is deviating too much from the true value, then it is less accurate. So supposing that length of an object is 3.567 meters, supposing. This is a true value. Now I take a ordinary scale that is there in my compass box. It can measure only up to millimeters. So this is 3.567 meters. So if I use a scale which will be measuring only up to millimeter, so supposing I get the value as, because I am able to measure up to millimeter, this is also 567 millimeter, understand. So I may get as 3.560 meter with a meter rule, because it can also measure up to millimeter, means up to 3 decimals of meter. So this is first reading that I get, and there is second reading that I get, that is 2.53278 meters by some other instrument. So with other instrument I am able to measure up to 5 decimals. With the meter rule I am able to measure only up to 3 decimals, because meter rule can measure only up to millimeter, and this is maybe screw gauge which can measure up to 5 decimals of meter. So I am getting this much value. Now please understand that in the first reading with the meter rule, I was having only 3 decimals after the point, and here I am having 5. So this is more precise. This is more precise, because here I am able to read only even 100 part of a millimeter. See, up to millimeter, if the answer would have been, then it would have been 2.532. But I am having 2 more decimals. That means 1 millimeter is divided into 100 more parts. That means this instrument is able to measure up to 0.01 millimeter, whereas this is able to measure only up to 1 millimeter. So this instrument can measure only up to 1 millimeter, whereas this can measure up to 100 part of a millimeter. So this is more precise and this is less precise. To better understand, supposing you have two watches, one can read only up to minutes, it does not have a second hand, and another clock is there which is having a second hand also. So one which may be measuring only minutes, supposing the correct time is 1:52, this is the correct time supposing. That is a clock which can read only up to minutes, so that reads supposing 1:51 minutes. And there is another one which can read up to seconds also, it may read 1:47:40 seconds. So because it can read to seconds and this can read only up to minutes, so this is more precise because it can read up to seconds, this can read only up to minutes. So an instrument which can read up to smaller values will be called more precise. A reading which has got more decimal points, that will be called more precise. But if you want to see the accuracy, accuracy means how close you are to the true value. If you take difference of these two and difference of these two, you will find difference between these two less and difference between these two more. So even though this is less precise, this is more accurate because this is more close to the correct value. This is more far away from the true value. If you take difference of these two values and you take difference of these two values, you will find this difference is more and this difference is less. That means this is more far away from the true value. So this is less accurate even though more precise. This is less precise but more accurate. Similarly over here, difference between them is only 1 minute, 60 seconds. And difference here is too much. See, 20 seconds will be 48 and 4 minutes. So 240 plus 20, 260 seconds is the difference between these two. 260 seconds. And here it is only 60 seconds. So this is more close to the true value. So this is more accurate. This is less accurate. But it can read up to seconds also. So this is more precise and this is less precise. So that means you have to understand the difference between accuracy and precision very clearly. An instrument can read, which can read a smaller value. Like in a clock, one can read up to minutes, one can read up to seconds. So the clock which can read up to seconds will be called more precise, and the one that can read up to minutes will be called less precise. An instrument which can read up to 1 millimeter, your ordinary foot rule in the compass box, it can read only up to 1 millimeter. A vernier caliper can read up to 0.1 millimeter, and a spherometer and a screw gauge can read up to 0.01 millimeter. The minimum value that an instrument can read is called least count of the instrument. The minimum value that an instrument can read is called least count of the instrument. So for ordinary scale in your compass box, the least count is 1 millimeter. For vernier caliper, I showed you that day, it is 0.1 millimeter, and for spherometer or screw gauge, it is 0.01 millimeter. So least count of screw gauge is least, then vernier caliper, then ordinary foot rule in your compass box. So this is more precise as compared to this, and this is more precise as compared to this, because the least count of this is lesser than this. So lesser the least count, more is the precise instrument, but that need not be accurate. So this is about accuracy and precision. I told you, understand the difference between precision and accuracy. A measurement will be called more accurate if it is closer to the true value. If it is farther away from the true value, it will be called less accurate. For precision, we will compare the least count. The measurement which has got lesser least count will be called more precise. An instrument which will be having more least count, the least count of minutes is more than that of seconds. So here least count is bigger, 1 minute, here it is 1 second smaller. So least count bigger, so less precise. Least count smaller, more precise. Like this you have to think, children. So this was about your accuracy and precision. Now whenever you take measurement in laboratory, when you are doing practicals, so how many types of errors can be there while taking the reading? Errors are broadly classified into two categories. Errors, one will be random and another one will be systematic. See, random error means we won't know the origin of error. why the error has come into the measurement, we won't be able to make out the source. And when we are not able to make out the source of the error, then such error is called as random error. And if you are able to locate the source of error, it is called systematic error. Now, how many types of systematic errors are there? Because of what? Because of instrument, because of experimental technique, okay, and then due to personal error. These three things are there. So what is instrumental error, children? If there is faulty instrument, if there is mistake in the calibration of instrument, if the calibration is not proper, if I show you nicely, if you can see the scale, whatever markings are there on this is called calibration. Now if the markings are not put properly on the scale by the manufacturer, then the measurement that you will get will be faulty. Now what I mean to say by that, see, supposing there is a scale like this. So this is 0 mark, this is 1 mark, this is 2 mark and 3 mark, like this centimeters, like this it is there. So supposing this is the standard distance of 1 centimeter and so on, the scale goes on like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. So this will be 4, this will be 5 equal distance, roughly I am making. There is another company which makes a scale and it makes a mistake in the measurement, and what it does is, by mistake, it takes half centimeter as 1. So here it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like this it will come. Are you understanding? So the company has made faulty calibration. Instead of 1 it is written 2, instead of 2 it is written 4, by mistake it has happened. The instrument is faulty. Now if I want to measure the length of anything, supposing I want to measure the length of this rod, I want to measure length of this rod, and supposing the rod is up to here, supposing up to here. So actually the length is how much? 3 centimeter. But with this how much I will get? I will approximately get how much? 6 centimeter. So when the rod length is actually 3, I will get 6 if I use this instrument. If I take a rod of 4 centimeter length, it will show how much? 8. If I take a rod of length 4.5 centimeter, it will show 9 centimeter. That means you can see that if the markings are faulty, the measurement will be always more in this case if the calibration has been of this type. If there would have been calibration of this type, supposedly instead of half centimeter, now it takes 2 centimeter at 1 centimeter. So here it will be 1, here it will be 2, something like this. So here it will be 0.5, here it will be 1.5 against 3, like this. Now if I want to measure an object whose length is this much, so actually the length is 3, but this will show 1.5. If I take a scale like this, a rod of this much length, actual length is 4, but this will show 2. So this type of scale will show always small value, and this type of scale will show always higher value. That means whenever there is error because of instrument, either the value will be always more or always less. This is called positive error and negative error. Error going in only one direction. Error moving in one direction means always recording higher value or recording lower value. Either moving in positive direction or moving in negative direction. With this type of scale, you can never have a value less than the actual value. See, whenever it will be 2, it will show 4. When 1, it will show 2. So always it will show higher. If this scale is used, it will be always less. Instead of 1.5, instead of 2, 1, instead of 3, 1.5. So error will tend to move only in one direction, either always more or always less. So systematic errors usually are always moving in one direction. Either they give us always more value than the actual value, or they give us always lesser value. So instrumental error, if there is fault in the instrument, if there is fault in the calibration, then you can see the readings will be either always higher than the correct value or lower than the actual value, true value. So this was about instrumental error. How to reduce the instrumental error, children? When you will be doing practicals in the laboratory, your teacher will make many groups and divide you into 3 or 4 students groups, and they will give you one instrument to each group. Now it is possible that the instrument that you are using it is faulty, it is possible. So what you should do after you have finished your taking the readings from your instrument, you should exchange your instrument with the other groups. So if you use another instrument, maybe that is correct and you will immediately come to know your instrument was faulty. So to reduce the instrumental error, we should take reading with multiple instruments so that we can minimize the instrumental error. That is the way to deal with the instrumental error, how to reduce it. Experimental technique. If your experiment has got some defect, then naturally the observations will be different from the actual one. Children, you should know, if you want to measure the temperature of human body, the tongue always gives us the correct temperature. Oral temperature means temperature of the mouth is the correct temperature. But the temperature of forehead or the temperature of armpit, it is always less by 0.3 degrees Celsius to 0.6 degrees Celsius. So if you measure the temperature of body by keeping thermometer in the armpit or by the forehead, if you want to measure the temperature, it will record always lesser value. But if you measure the temperature of the tympani of the ear, tympanic membrane inside the ear, it is always at a higher temperature of 0.3 degree to 0.6 degree. So if the technique of taking measurement of the body temperature, whether you are taking oral temperature of the mouth or of the armpit or of the forehead or of the tympanic membrane of the ear, the temperature recorded will be less or higher. So we should know what correct technique we have to involve to get the measurement. So because of experimental techniques, your error will be always either higher or less. If I always take measurement of armpit, my temperature recorded will be always lesser. If I take measurement from the forehead, it will be always lesser than the oral temperature. If I take temperature of the ear, it will be always higher than the actual temperature. It cannot be less. So because of experimental also, the error will be always higher or always lesser. It will always move in only one direction. So what should we do to reduce the experimental error? When we want to make temperature of the human body, we should take temperature in the armpit, then oral, and then forehead temperature also. At 3-4 places we can keep, and we can take the average value to come to know the correct temperature of the human body. So multiple methods can be used to reduce the experimental error. There may be error in one experiment, but there may not be error in the another method. So by making use of multiple experimental methods, we can reduce the experimental error, experimental technique error. Then personal error. Children, when your teacher is explaining to you how to do the practical, and maybe some students are not listening to the teacher properly, so they will not come to know how to take the readings. So when their turn comes to take the reading, they will definitely make mistake in the reading, and that is the cause of personal error, because of person. If the person has not developed correct ability, correct sense to do the practical, to take observations, he will definitely take wrong observations. Particularly, parallax error is introduced. Supposing this is the measurement over here, I want to measure what is the height of this point, and I keep a scale like this over here, and there are markings over here like this, and I want to see these are some readings 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 like this it is written. Supposing this is 14, this is 15, this is 16, 17, 18. I want to measure height of this. So actually when I want to take the height of this, so I should keep my eyes just in front of it so that I could know actually the measurement is 16. Now if somebody does not keep the eye level over here, if he sees from here maybe, then he will feel that this 15 is coinciding with this height. So he will think 15 is the correct answer. And if somebody is observing from higher level, then he may think that 17 is the correct answer. So error because of person. A person who is in the habit of looking from top will always get higher reading. A person who is in the habit of looking from down, he will always get lesser reading. So error because of person. If you have not developed the correct method to take the readings, your readings will always be less or more than the actual values. To reduce personal error, what we should do? All students of the group should take readings one by one, not only one. It is possible that in a group of 5 students, 1 or 2 are mischievous and they are not taking the readings properly, but remaining 3 will take readings properly, and so the error will be minimized. So to minimize personal error, different people should take readings of the same observation so that personal error can be reduced. Then about instrument, I told you if the instrument is faulty because of the least count. See, if I told you if there is a measurement of 1.237 millimeter, I know that this is the observation 1.237 meter. If I use a meter scale, then I may get reading of 1.236 meter. If I use a vernier caliper, I may get a reading of 1.2365 meter. If I use a spherometer, I may get a reading of 2.366 meter. So, because of the least count increasing, in the vernier caliper more least count, and in screw gauge or vernier caliper, screw gauge or spherometer, my least count is even smaller. Here it will be 0.1 millimeter. Here it will be 0.01 millimeter in case of screw gauge and spherometer. So my readings can be more and more accurate to the true value. So when we take an instrument, more refined instrument, which is more precise, which is having lesser least count. See, here the least count is 1 millimeter for ordinary foot rule. For vernier calipers, it is 0.1 millimeter, and here it is 0.01 millimeter for screw gauge or spherometer. So least count is reducing, the precision is increasing. So when there is least count involved in the observation, children, so if I take a more refined instrument, more precise instrument, my readings will be close to the true value. And if I am taking an instrument which is not having a very small least count, but if it is having a very big least count, supposing I had a foot rule which could not measure millimeter, supposing it can measure only centimeter, then this is the actual reading, and I would have got reading as only 1.23 centimeter, then I cannot measure millimeter. So my least count is only 1 centimeter over here. So then things will become very difficult for us. I mean, the amount of error will be more and more, because here up to millimeter we are measuring, here up to 1 centimeter we are measuring. So error will increase if your least count is bigger and precision is less. So to avoid the least count error, we should try to use a more refined instrument which has lesser value of least count. So if we know that error has occurred because of the least count of the instrument, maybe we were not able to use a good instrument and therefore we are getting a very large difference between the true value and the observed value, then we say it is a case of systematic error, because in systematic errors we know the cause of the error. But when we are using an instrument and we don't know why the error is coming again and again, then that error because of instrument or because of the least count of the instrument will be called a random error. So error because of least count is categorized as systematic error also and random error also. If I am able to locate the cause of the error, that maybe my least count was too large and therefore there is a tremendous difference between the true value and the observed value. If I can locate the error, then it becomes a case of systematic error, because systematic errors we know the cause of error. And we don't, supposing we are not able to make out what is happening, why error is coming again and again, even after using a very precise instrument, then it is called a random error. And how to reduce the random errors, I told you children, we will have to take many readings, and therefore when you will be doing practicals, you will observe your teacher will tell you take 3 readings, take 4 readings, take 5 readings, and then take average. Why we are doing that? To reduce the concept of random error, possibility of random error. There may be random error, we don't know why the error is coming, we don't know the source, why it is happening. So to reduce that, we take multiple readings and then we take average, and that is considered as the true value. So this was about errors, children. You read from a textbook very nicely. I have explained. It is nicely given in a textbook also. Please remember all the points, how to reduce a particular error, and what is systematic error, whose cause is known, what is random error, whose cause is not known, how to reduce random error, how to reduce different types of systematic errors, what is least count error, all those things I have told you. Now when we take measurements, how to quantify the error, how to tell what is the error in the measurement, because physics is the science of measurements. Whenever we say there is an error, we will have to tell how much error is there. So what we will have to do, supposing AI is equal to A1, A2, A3, A4, An. I take n readings of some observation. Maybe temperature of a human body or radius of a given sphere, time period of a pendulum, whatever. So we will take some observation. They can be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. So this is AI, first observation, second, third, fourth, fifth lines. So you know that true value will be written as A mean, that will be A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus up to An upon n. Simple arithmetic average of all these observations will be accepted as a true value, which we may call as A mean or A bar also sometimes. Some books are using A bar. A bar, you must have been using X bar in statistics last year in class 10. We write A bar or A mean. This you get, and this is considered to be the true value of the observation. Then comes error in each observation. In the first observation, delta A1, delta for error. Error in first observation will be A mean minus A1. Delta A2 will be true value minus A2. Delta A3 will be A mean minus A3 and so on. So delta An, that will be A mean minus A, like this you will think. So we calculate errors in each observation. True value minus observed value, that will be error in that observation. And then we find absolute errors. Absolute error means delta A1, that will be mod of A mean minus A1. Delta A2, that will be A mean minus A2. And like that, delta An will be A mean minus An. See, this can be negative or positive depending on A mean is higher or A1 is higher. But because we are taking modulus, this will be always positive. Then after taking absolute values of the error in each observation, I calculate delta A mean, absolute value of average error, that will be delta A1 plus delta A2 plus delta A3 plus delta An upon n. This will be mean absolute error. This will be mean absolute error. Take absolute errors of each observation and take their average. So mean absolute error. Mean of what? Absolute errors. Dividing by n. Dividing by what? Summation of absolute errors. So mean absolute error. Then we have got relative error. Relative error will be delta A mean upon A mean. Means mean absolute error upon true value. We can take like this. So delta A mean, mean absolute error upon true value, A mean, that will be called relative error. And percentage error will be called delta A, the symbol for delta. If A is the name of the variable, delta A, that will be relative error into 100%. So how to calculate percentage error, relative error, mean absolute error, and the true value? These 4 points you should know. So first step will be to calculate the mean, then to calculate errors in each observation, then to calculate their absolute values, then to find delta A mean, then mean absolute error, relative error, percentage error. We take up an example to understand children. We take up an example. Please pause and copy. See, it is given in your textbook. Supposing we have measured the time period of a pendulum and we got readings like this. So you write over here I, first observation, second observation, third, fourth. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 are there. Then AI, the readings. This is 2.63. This will be 2.56. This will be 2.42. This is given to me as 2.71 and this is 2.80. So A mean will be what? First of all, addition of these A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 plus A5 upon 5. That will be A mean. That will be the first thing. So write over here A mean will be A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 plus A5 upon 5. What is the total? Let us see. 9, 11, 12, 7, 12, 16, 23, 31, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. 13.1, that is total. So 13.12 upon 5. If you multiply by 2, so 26.24 upon 10. So that is 2.624. That is A mean. This is the A mean value. So this is the true value, children. 2.624. Now we know delta AI, which will be A mean minus AI. Or you can take AI minus A mean, it does not matter because we are going to take the absolute value. This will not be important for us, absolute value. So I directed delta AI, mod value. Okay. So this is true value. 2.624 minus 2.63. We will have to do 2.624 minus 2.63. If we subtract, so this is higher. So 2.63. So this becomes 2 and 10 over here 6. 1 0. So 0.016. This is 0.016. Then 2.63 minus 2.56. 2.624 and 2.56. We want to subtract. So 4, 12 minus 6, 0.064. Then 2.624 minus 2.42, 0.204. Then 2.710, 2.624. See, now this is higher, this is less. So this is really 10 minus 4 is 6, 10 minus 2 8, 0. So this is 0.086. Then 2.8 minus 2.624. So this is 7, this is 10 and this is 10. So 10 minus 4 will be 6 because there was 0 already over here. 9 minus 2 7, 1. 0.176. Then we add all of them, children. So we will get what? This will be total of sigma modulus of delta AI. Delta A1, delta A2, their modulus we add. So how do I get delta A mean? This will be how much? I will divide this total, whatever it will come out, sigma delta AI upon n. So you add all these things and you divide by 5, I will get delta A mean. This will be how much? That I think you can do. Add all these, sigma delta AI, divide by 5, you will get delta A. What will be relative error? Sigma A delta A mean upon A mean. A mean already I have got. And what will be percentage error? Delta A, that will be relative error into 100 and write percentage. So this way you have to go about the sum. So children, today we talked about different types of errors and how to measure the error, how to know the mean value, true value rather, how to get mean absolute error, how to get relative error and how to get percentage error. In the next video we will learn more about errors. Thank you children, God bless you.